Hello, hello, it's Gigi, reading another book. Are you ready? This is If I Ran the Zoo by Dr. Seuss. I'm so excited to see you. That looks dark and scary. Mr. Gru's Zoo. If I Ran the Zoo. It's a pretty good zoo, said young Gerald McGrew, and the fellow who runs it seems proud of it too. But if I ran the zoo, said young Gerald McGrew, I'd make a few changes. That's just what I'd do. The lions and tigers and that kind of stuff they have up here now are not quite good enough. You see things like these in just any old zoo. They're awfully old-fashioned. I want something new. So I'd open each cage, I'd unlock every pen, let the animals go and start all over again. And somehow or other, I think I could find some beasts of a much more unusual kind. A four-footed lion's not much of a beast. The one in my zoo will have 10 feet at least. 5 legs on the left and 5 more on the right. Then people will stare and they'll say, "What a sight!" This new keeper, Gerald's quite keen. He's the gold dandest lion I have ever seen. I think I'm going to get tongue-tied in this one. My new Zoo McGrew Zoo will make people talk. My new Zoo McGrew Zoo will make people gawk at the strangest odd creatures that ever did walk. I'll get from my zoo a new sort of hen who roosts in another hen's top knot, and then another one roosts in the top knot of his, and another in his, and another in his, and so forth and upward and onward. Gee whiz! But that's just a start. I'll do better than that. They'll see me the next day in my zookeeper's hat, coming into my zoo with an elephant cat. They'll be so surprised, they'll all swallow their gum. They'll ask, when did they see my strange animals come? Where do you suppose he gets these things like that from? His animals all have such very odd faces. I'll bet he must hunt them in rather odd places. And that's what I'll do, said young Gerald McGrew. If you want to catch beasts you don't see every day, you'll have to go places quite out of the way. You'll have to go places no other can get to. You'll have to get cold and you'll have to get wet too. Up past the North Pole where the frozen winds squeal, I'll go and I'll hunt in my Skeaglemobile and bring back a family of, what do you know? And that's how my new Zoo McGrew Zoo will grow. I'll hunt in the mountains of Zumba Ma Tant with helpers who all wear their eyes at a slant and capture a fine fluffy bird called the bustard, who only eats custard with a sauce of mustard, and also a very fine beast called the flustered, who eats mustard with a sauce made of custard. I love custard, but not mixed with mustard. I'll catch 'em in caves, I'll catch 'em in brooks, I'll catch 'em in crannies, I'll catch 'em in nooks. Time you don't read about in geography books, that kind. I'll catch 'em in countries that no one can spell, like the country of Matapapatapapel. In a country like that, if a hunter is clever, he'll hunt up some beasts that you never saw ever. I'll load up 5 boats with a family of jotes whose feet are like cows but wear squirrel skin coats and sit down like dogs but have voices like goats, expecting they can't sing the very high notes. And then I'll go down to the wilds of Nantucket and capture a family of lunks in a bucket. Then people will say, now I like that boy heaps. His new zoo McGrew Zoo is growing by leaps. He captures them wild and he captures them meek. He captures them slim and then he captures them sleek. What do you suppose he will capture next week? I'll capture one tiny, I'll capture one cute, I'll capture a deer that no hunter would shoot. A deer that's so nice he could sleep in your bed if it weren't for those horns that he has on his head. That's a lot of horn right there. And speaking of horns that are just a bit queer, I'll bring back a very odd family of deer. A mother, a father, 2 sisters, a brother, whose horns are connected from one to the other, whose horns are so mixed they can't tell them apart, can't tell where they end, and can't tell where they start. Each deer's mighty puzzled. He's never yet found if his horns are hers or the other way around. I'll capture them fat and I'll capture them scrawny. I'll capture a scragglefoot mulling-tawny, a high-stepping animal fast as the wind from the blistering sands of the desert of Zend. This beast is the beast that the brave chieftains ride when they want to go fast to find someplace to hide. A mulligatawny is fine for my zoo, and so is a chieftain. I'll bring one back too. I probably destroyed them. In the far western part of southeast North Dakota lives a very fine animal called the iota. But I'll capture one who's even much finer in the northeastern west part of South Carolina. When people see him, they will say, now by thunder, this new Zoo McGrew Zoo is really a wonder. Most beasts are quite friendly, but still in some lands, some beasts are too dangerous to catch with bare hands. For those that are ugly and vicious and mean, I'll build a bad animal catching machine. It's rather expensive to build such a kit, but with it a hunter can never get bit. And a zoo should have bugs, so I'll capture a thwirl whose legs are snarled up in a terrible swirl. And then I'll go out and I'll capture some chugs, some keen shooter, mean shooter, bean booter bugs. I'll go to the African Isle of Yurka and bring back a tizzle-top tufta mazurka, a kind of canary with a quite tall throat. His neck is so long if he swallows an oat for breakfast the first day of April, they'll say, it has to go down such a very long way that it gets to his stomach in the 15th of May. I'll bring back a gusset, a gherkin, a gasket, and also a gooch from the wilds of Nantasket. And 8 Persian princes will carry the basket, but what their names are, I do not know, so don't ask it. I'll go to the faraway mountains of Tobusk, near the river of Nabusk, and I'll bring back an Abusk. Say that 10 times fast. A sort of kind of a thingamabobsk, who only eats rhubarb and corn on the cobs. Then people will flock to my zoo in Amobsk. McGrew, they'll say, what a wonderful jobsk. He hunts with such a vim, and he hunts with such a vigor, his new zoo, McGrew Zoo, gets bigger and bigger. And speaking of birds, there's the Russian Paluski, whose headski is redski and belly is blueski. I'll get one of them for my Zooski Magrewski. Then the whole town will gasp, why, this boy never sleeps. No keeper before ever kept what he keeps. There's no telling what that young fellow will do. And then just to show them, I'll sail to Catrue and bring back an Ickchuck, a Preep, and a Prue, a Nurgle, a Nerd, and a Seersucker too. I'll hunt in the jungles of Hipponohungus, and bring back a flock of wild Biponobungus. The Biponobungus from Hipponohungus are better than those down in Dipponodungus, and smarter than those in Nippononungus, and that's why I'll catch 'em in Hipponohungus, instead of those others in Nungus and Dungus. And people will say when they see these bips bounding, this zookeeper's new keeper's simply astounding. He travels so far, what do you think he would drop? When do you suppose this young fellow will stop? Stop? Well, I should, but I won't stop until I've captured the Fizzle-ma-Whizzle-ma-Dill, the world's biggest bird from the island of Gwark, who only eats pine trees and spits out the bark. And boy, when I get him back to my park, the whole world will say, young McGrew's made his mark. He's built a zoo better than Noah's whole ark. These wonderful, marvelous beasts that he chooses have made him the greatest of all the McGrewses. Wow, they're all cheer. What this zoo must be worth. It's the gall darndest zoo on the face of the earth. Yes, that's what I'd do, sang young Gerald McGrew, if I'd make a few changes, if I ran a zoo. I love you. Signing off for now. Out the door, dinosaur.